Hello and welcome to the Pre-Chiro podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Glass, and today we're making a professional chiropractor connection out in Florida with a chiropractic legend, somebody who's been in the game for probably over 40 years, Dr. Larry Markson. Larry, can you get us started by just introducing yourself and also reflecting way back on what it was that attracted you to this path? Why did you decide to become a chiropractor? Where were you at in life when you made that decision? And what was like really that thing that pulled you towards this path?
Okay, so hi everyone. Good to be back. Good to be in action. I am in Florida. It looks like I'm cold, but I'm not. It's 93 degrees here. And I love talking to chiropractors, and Dr. Glass is just one of the best. True to a word, true to our philosophy. Nevertheless, here's my story. When I was 7 years of age, means 1842, someone back there, I had bronchial asthma so bad that I couldn't walk from here to across the room without living in an oxygen environment. In those days, you didn't have these little tubes they put in your nose. I was actually in and out of an oxygen tent that I put around you. That's how they dealt with asthmatics. Between attacks, I went home, another attack back in. So we went everywhere like any parent would do, especially in those days when chiropractic was in its infancy. I'm talking about 1947, same year Jackie Robinson broke the color line in baseball, so that's how long ago. So my parents went from doctor to doctor. They had no more money, didn't know what to do. And a friend said, "Why don't you go to see a chiropractor?" Well, my parents didn't even know what that was. Bottom line, they ended up going to a chiropractor as the proverbial last resort. I have nothing else to do. And his office was about 10 blocks from Ebbets Field, where Jackie Robinson in that same year started playing baseball. And so when we went, it was an unusual experience because he didn't have a reception room like you and I know it's a reception room. And it's not a waiting room, it's a reception room. That means something. And he had chairs like bridge chairs that you'd set up to play cards in rows like a theater, maybe 40 or 50 of them. So that was his main room. He had one other room, which I now know, and you would know, is the consultation room, adjusting room, his kitchen sink, his bathroom, everything in one room. So that was my experience. And he's a big guy. Now, I don't know, when I was young, obviously I was small. He looked like a giant, but he was about 6'3", named Benjamin Hershon. And when the next patient was in, he'd open the door, yell, "Next." And I didn't want to go in. My parents had to carry me into this one room. And the bottom line, so we started chiropractic care. And one of the things he said, "Listen, we can probably help the asthma condition. It's going to take time. It always takes time. So I'm telling you, you may not like it. You may not even want to start. You're going to come 3 times a week until I tell you, twice a week until I tell you, once a week until I tell you. And don't be surprised if you're coming here for that and then longer, because the object is to remove nerve interference from the body, which takes time, move bones around, move discs around, free the nerves, and then we'll go to twice a week, and then when I tell you to once a week, and maybe once every other week, and blah blah blah. I've never stopped since. I still get an adjustment once a week from my chiropractor down the block. But the reason I go there is not because he's good. I don't have to pay. So that's my experience. So I grew up with kids. What do you want to be? I want to be a fireman. I want to be a football player. I knew I wanted to be a chiropractor. So I went. In fact, I went in those days from high school, which I graduated as I was 18 years old, to Palmer, and there was no college in between. So if I'm illiterate, you know why? Because there was no, New York was not, I was in New York then, Florida now. There was no license. We were the 49th state, and Louisiana being the 50th state to get licensed as a chiropractor in America. And so I was already in practice, and 2 years later, I had to go back to school to take the exams that everybody takes now. And that's what happened. And so I came out of Palmer. I'm only going to tell this not for ego, but to tell you that I knew the didactic stuff, which does not make you successful by itself. So how do I was valedictorian, and I'm not saying that because I'm smart, but to tell the story. And that's because the woman next to me was really, really bright. So I did okay. And so I peeled out of school when I graduated at the top of my class, feeling confident, loving chiropractic, wanting to go back. In case some of you don't know, my teacher was a guy named, let me see if I can remember, B.J. Palmer. So that's how old it goes back. So my philosophy was not taught by a philosophical teacher, right? It was B.J. Palmer himself, only for 2 years. So I have the first diploma of Palmer College of Chiropractic versus Palmer School of Chiropractic. And so it was fortuitous to work back. So I zipped back to New York. I opened an office that everybody would laugh because I had $50 to my name, that type of thing. Little reception room with a couple of chairs, then an adjusting table, and nothing like you can see today. My son, who's down here in Plantation, 30, sees maybe 1,000 people a week in his office and 6,000 square foot, blah, blah, blah. Didn't exist. It was a little closet. So I went to him and he gave me this exam, whatever it was. They didn't have x-rays in those days. They held me up and looked that way. And I went 3 times a week for, I don't remember how long, then twice a week. And pretty soon I was better. One more part of the story, along with bronchial asthma, the reason I'm saying it, this was not musculoskeletal. I have a bad back, I have a bad neck, I have a bad shoulder. It was not that at all. But I also had to wear white gloves to school in New York, in Brooklyn, New York, because I had eczema so bad that you couldn't even look at my hands. So I got your shit kicked out of me, pardon my French, every day. I was this, they were calling me names. You could imagine what was happening back then. But after chiropractic care, look, my nails are manicured. I don't have a mark on them. I play golf. I do what I have to do. So not only was I fortunate and loved wanting to be chiropractic, now here's the caveat. I failed for 7 years. After 7 years, I must have been seeing maybe 50 people a week, 70 people a week. And that's if I counted my mother, who drove me to work, my father, who picked me up, right? And the mailman. If I counted everybody, it was 70. So how could that be? I was raised in chiropractic. I loved the principle. I got a health experience myself. I was taught by B.J. Palmer, and I failed. Something was wrong. And then one day, I don't want to knock anyone else in any way. One day, a friend said to me that we were classmates, and he was doing 200 people a week in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm seeing 70 people starving and wondering when I'm going to have to quit and give it up. He took me to a Parker seminar in Dallas. It was in Fort Worth then, but in Dallas. And I sat there and I listened to Jim Parker's spiel, and something grabbed me, and I went back, and 1 year later, I was seeing 100 people a day in the same office with the same 2 part-time CAs that I had been blaming all these years for the cause of my problem. So if that's a long-winded answer to your question. So I loved it. The difference was I wasn't the person that was attuned to healing, attuned to conversation, being able to speak to people, all the things other than the technical things. And by the way, so I learned chemistry. I've never used it since. Okay, so I had to learn philosophy and communication skills, and how to hire and how to fire and do all the things that you have to do too. When they married, it was onward. And then, so that's my story. That's how it's that. So I loved it then, and I still love it now.
Mm-hmm. Now, I appreciate the narrative arc. 1947 is the year my dad was born, the year my dad was born as well.
See?
That's amazing. And I'm also from New York, but I'm from the Hudson Valley. So if we kind of like position our voice on the prospective chiropractic student, because that's really what the innovation behind this project is, in acknowledging that there's a group of people out there that have a good feeling they're going to go to chiropractic school. They either are doing it as a fallback option because they didn't get into another type of profession, or they're consciously choosing they want to become a chiropractor as their first choice because they realize the power of becoming a chiropractor, the potential in that. So I'm just curious, if you're the guidance counselor and I'm a high school or college student and I tell you, I think I want to go become a chiropractor one day, how would you sort of provide I don't know what we could call it, a blueprint or a strategy or a place to start that would allow me to start to study chiropractic in a way that, you know, was maybe at a fundamental foundational level? Or how would you differentiate it to me if you were teaching me chiropractic in that guidance counseling session and just dripping a couple of concepts into my mind?
Okay, so a good question. And I've been asked it many times, obviously, and I've gone to many places where there's a group of people who they don't even know what profession they want, and I'm trying to drag them into chiropractic profession. So I said, listen, chiropractic is not a healing art or science as you know it today. So everybody wants to be chiropractors, we're doctors too, but it's a whole different thing. It's a natural, holistic healing art that doesn't deny anything, but adds something to the fact. How would you like to go to work every day for your life and know that the power that made the body can heal the body? That by getting bones, not technical, bones off nerves and opening up the nerve system, the body can heal itself. So if you scratch your arm, right, you can inject it, you can take medications, right, and cut the nerve that goes down to your arm. It's not healing. So the nervous system is a master system. So you go to work, you don't cut anyone open. You're not sitting there writing a prescription to take care of symptoms. You're looking to fix the cause, and people love it. They come. You will make a superior living, I promise you. And the more you are into healing and liking people, the more you get in the health arts. You get to understand the philosophy. It's an art. So some do better than most. And the reason for that is them. So if in my particular thing right now, I train probably 30,000 chiropractors in my lifetime, in my career. It's not only a job. If you think it's that, forget it. If you think it's easy, wow, I'm going to go in and just manipulate someone's spine, right? Then it's easy. It's not easy. Loving people, caring about people, nurturing them, putting up with their BS, as you know, if you've ever been a patient, you know, all of that. But the intent is a joyful life. That was what I want. First of all, I want them to succeed because I had 2 kids by that time. I couldn't even feed them. I had no money. But when I put myself into it to adjust people so that they can get well naturally, right? And I loved walking into my office. So the way I do it to people, if you want a career in a healing art, if you're that type of person, you know, if you want to be a pilot, go be a pilot. And if you want to be a fireman, go be a fireman. Nothing wrong with that. But if you want to touch people and heal them and help them heal, the body heals itself, and help them heal in a warm office, in a nice environment where people admire and respect you. As a result, you can say that I helped this person get well and have a monetary remuneration more than you can ever think if the practice is successful. Why wouldn't you consider it? So that's my start.
And you said that you've stood in rooms and coached 30,000 chiropractors, but have you ever had an in-depth conversation about pre-chiropractic studies? I'm talking about high school, college students, kindergarten up through 12th grade, actually studying chiropractic before they even go to chiropractic school. Has this ever been something that was the central focus of a conversation that you've had throughout your entire career?
I think probably only once or twice.
Okay.
You know, so I'm not a soft-spoken, cozy, warm guy to do that. I'm the type of guy. Listen, if you want to win, I can show you how. If you want to get through life and just happen, then I'm not your guy. So I'm talking about a profession, not because it's mine. I loved it from the beginning because if you were helped, you would love it too. But the more I got in, the more I changed, the more I became authentic and real and spiritually whole and the whole thing like that, and knew my work. You have to know your work. You have to know your anatomy and physiology, neurology, and all of that. That's part of it. So I never really had that question. And younger students, remember, I knew from 7 that when I was 20, I was going to be a chiropractor. That's very rare. But I have sent, I can't even tell you how many hundreds of people to chiropractic colleges, all of them. And so what would I say to first, you got to be someone that likes to deal with people, right? And tall ones and short ones and heavy ones and thin ones and this nationality and that.
Where'd you go? Hit the mic. Refresh the screen. You might have to refresh the screen. You might have to set your phone to do not disturb as well, possibly. Because I imagine you got a phone call or a text message. I can't hear you. That's why I'm asking you to hit the refresh or exit out and come back in. Well, I'll talk while you're figuring that out. I still remember back when I was a student at Life West, hearing you speak on stage at the first ever wave at Life West, and Dr. Reggie Gold stood on stage that day and he said, the crown jewel, can you hear me now? Talk to me. Tell me you can, the crown jewel of his legacy was referring over 160 chiropractors to chiropractic school. And that to me just sticks out as a metric of effectiveness to communicate chiropractic in a way that shows the bigness of chiropractic to anybody that's out there considering this path. And it's an incredible journey to consider that this project right here can culminate in thousands upon thousands of people going to become chiropractors because of what they learn through conversations and listening to people like you speak. Are you there? No, you can't hear me? Leave and then come back in. Leave, come back in. Leave, come back in. So yeah, basically we lost Larry. You can't hear me? I want you to leave and come back in. Hey, can
How
you
we
hear me
doing?
now? Good?
Okay, I can't hear
All
you.
right. You can't?
Wait a minute, hold on. Hello? Hello? I cannot hear you.
Hey, can you hear me now? I can't hear you now. Hold on. Oh my God. You can hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Coming in, coming in. Can you hear me now? I hear you. Can you hear me? You can't hear me. I can hear you. I can hear you.